Hey friends, it's Brianna. I'm back again with another easy DIY. This time I'm going to show you how to dry orange slices to decorate your house for the fall. So let's get started. That was really dorky. Cut that. One of the advantages of using these orange slices is that it works from early fall through Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and winter. So it's an afternoon work, but you get to use them all season long. So I don't know, to me it's worth it. Plus, if you take care of them, these will last for 2 to 3 years. So a few ways I like to use them. Sometimes I'll just sort of scatter them throughout like a tablescape or a vignette. You can also make garlands with these. I've made wreaths with these. I have turned these into potpourri. You can use them to garnish mulled wine or cider. Decorate your Christmas tree, make little ornaments. There's just like a lot of cool ways you can use them. Today I'm gonna try 2 different methods. Typically I like to dry my orange slices in the oven on a wire cooling rack because I feel like that sort of lets all the air circulate and dries them out a little more evenly. But I want to make a lot of them, and so wire racks are very limited in size unless you have like 8 billion of them. So I'm also going to try lining the top rack of my oven with parchment paper. I think that might work too. Preheat our oven to 200 degrees and get to slicing our oranges. I actually decided to do lemons as well as oranges just to give some variety and option. And I'm curious to see how these janky lemons turn out. That's gross. Maybe not this one. We're gonna slice up our oranges. Now, it's important that you slice this in the correct direction. But I don't know, basically this part of the orange, you want that facing out, not down. If it's facing down, you're not gonna get that starburst shape that you need. So make sure that these ends are facing out. And then using a bread knife, a serrated knife of any type, not a chef's knife, you're going to want to just cut off the end until you get to the actual orange part. You don't need any of this pith, although you could dry it and it would smell good. So we're gonna cut these into very thin slices. Like, I don't know, what is this, 1/4 of an inch maybe? So yeah, you want them, this is actually probably even thicker than you need, but try to make them as even as possible. And if you have a mandolin, that would be perfect. However, I lost mine, so I am just using this. The reason you use a serrated knife and not a chef's knife is that a chef's knife is gonna squish this, so it'll damage some of these like membranes, and also it just will make sort of an oval shape, which you don't want. You can just use any old bread knife, just something serrated. I will link one down in the description below. Once you have all your orange slices and lemon slices cut up, blot these really, really well with a paper towel. You want to remove as much moisture as possible, not because you can't get them to dehydrate without doing this, but it'll go so much faster if some of this juice is already gone. And then once everything is blotted, you can just place all these oranges onto this wire rack. This is method number 1 that we're going to be doing today. And for the second method, we're going to use some parchment paper on the actual like oven rack, and that will allow us to do a lot more. And it's going to be interesting to see if they come out the same or not. So I'm really curious because I've only ever done it this way. So be sure to stick around to the end of the video just so we can both check out which way works best, or do they work the same and it doesn't matter. You can have the slices touching each other because these will shrink and overcrowding won't make much of a difference. If you are planning to use these for potpourri or for mulled cider or something like that, sprinkle them with a little bit of clove or cinnamon, you know, whatever your favorite fall spice is. Personally, I love clove. Orange and clove is a classic, but this just makes them smell even better once they're done. So just like a little sprinkling. Now that the orange is in the oven, you're gonna wanna flip them every 30 minutes. So this is a project you're gonna do when you're home for an extended period of time, because this could take anywhere from 2 hours to 6 hours, depending on how hot your oven runs, how thickly you've sliced your oranges and lemons, and sort of the results that you want to get from it. So do this on an afternoon spoon where you're gonna be able to like hang around and flip them every 30 minutes. If you work from home, this is actually a really good project to start during your lunch break because then you can just be here to flip them every 30 minutes or so. Let's see how we did. I separated these into piles. Here is the pile that we dried directly on the oven rack using the parchment paper. This is the pile where we used the wire cooling rack, and we also had some cloves on these, so that's what those dark spots are. And this is the pile of lemons. So I just wanted to call out a few different things. Drying them on the rack directly on top of like parchment paper directly on top of the oven rack was definitely the best way to go. We got way more because you can fit more. They dried more evenly, and they didn't have any marks really, whereas with the cooling rack option, which I've done in the past and usually works pretty well. I'm not sure if you can see this, but do you see these stripes right there? That is actually from the cooling rack overheating parts of the orange. It doesn't happen to all of them, but it does cause some extra discoloration. You can kind of see it along the ridges there as well. So if you're gonna try this, I definitely recommend parchment paper directly on the oven rack. Does the clove make them smell extra specially delicious? Yes, it does, but only if you stick it right up to your nose. So if you're going for looks, I don't know that this is necessary. Do it for a couple and see what you think, but I didn't think the smell was distinct enough to make that worth it. And one last thing I wanted to call out. These lemons were fairly successful. They definitely didn't maintain as much of their color. Like some of them did. This one's still pretty yellow. This one's a little brown. And a lot of them dried very unevenly. So half of this is burned and half of this isn't. And I found that sort of to be true with a lot of these. They're usable, but I don't know that I would bother doing lemons again. Stick with oranges. Definitely try some blood oranges. I'd be curious to try grapefruits. Maybe I'll try that. Maybe I'll try the grapefruits. One thing to keep in mind is as you get towards the end of the cycle, as you're flipping, you're gonna wanna pull some of these off because some will finish faster than others. And if you just leave the entire batch to go, some of them will burn, some of them will undercook. So you're just looking for it to sort of be translucent, almost like a stained glass, and for them to be fairly dry. If it's a tiny bit sticky on this pulp part, that's okay. But if it has like a squishiness to it, it needs longer. Otherwise, it could potentially mold or rot. Oven rack method with parchment paper, cooling rack method on a baking sheet, and just here are the lemons as an example. All in, these took about 4 hours, with the earliest ones being done at around 2.5 hours. So I think for now, I'm just gonna fill a bowl with these beautiful slices and just have them be a really simple fall decoration. And then in a few weeks, I'm probably going to make a really large wreath using these. And then I'll either use the same batch or make a new batch and perhaps make a Christmas garland after that. Either way, these are pretty versatile. I hope this was helpful. I hope you give it a try. It's an inexpensive and fun way to decorate for the season and the holidays. And if this was helpful, a really easy thing you can do is to give this video a like, and that will help this spread to other people who might also find it helpful. So thank you so much. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.